Jason Tedrow, thanks for joining me this morning. It is always a pleasure to tape with you.
Good morning, Christine. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm really good. The last time we spoke, we always try to check in with you once a quarter about what you're seeing as trends in the industry and where the direction of your company InProduction is going alongside that. And when we did our talk before this call, I was so excited because I thought, tailgating. He wants to talk about tailgating.
It's
And
football season. Football season is here.
it's coming, it's around the
It's
corner.
top of mind.
Okay, what are you seeing? And it really has emerged just in this last year. So, talk a little bit about the requests that you're getting around tailgating, which is really becoming the new orange, replacing the black of spectator experiences at events. So, walk me through it.
Yeah, so I guess I would say it's not replacing it. I think it's enhancing it, right? So we're adding to the spectator event, right? So you're making it more of a you're making you got to think about the games as more than just a game. The experience is the day, right? So if you think back to draw a parallel to concerts, you think about like a Jimmy Buffett concert. It's not about going and listening to Jimmy Buffett play. It's going ahead of time and hanging out in the parking lot and making margaritas and the whole thing. And that's half the fun. And then you go in and experience a concert and then maybe have another cocktail when you get back to the parking lot. So I think it's the same way with football, right? Or with tailgating. So we're sitting here at the end of August. I think I saw a great, wonderful stat as a football fan yesterday that said we will have football on every week from now until early February, and that made my heart warm. So when you think about
Does that make
tailgating,
your heart warm because InProduction does a lot of football and stadium work, or does it make your heart warm because you're in front of the television?
both.
Okay.
Then there's fantasy football, and then there's tailgates. Our oldest is at University of Iowa now, and I don't know if there's many better spots than going to University of Iowa to a tailgate before the football game. So this
Well,
is
you
near
you
and dear to
told
my
you
heart,
told
right?
me didn't aren't 70 people invited to eat? I mean, it's just
Oh my
huge.
gosh, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, I think we've got one in October where we'll have, I think 80 people there. It's wild.
Right.
So that's just our group, right? And then multiply that by however many. So when you think about the tailgate experience, I guess I think about it kind of one of two ways. One is, it's just part of the experience. You've got on the college side, you've got, ravenous fans, big fan base want to go. A lot of times people don't even go to the game. They just go to the tailgate or they'll sit at their tailgate during the game and watch. In addition to that, with the changes in college football, where the universities are needing to kind of identify other areas for revenue and things like that, we can actually leverage the tailgate experience for the universities to create like a revenue generating event, right? So we'll get back to that in a second. Then on the other side, it's like NFL football. I mean, if you think about like, the first thing you think about probably with a Buffalo Bills game is the tailgates ahead of time where the guys are, jumping off their cars onto their, folding tables and breaking those, right? Or like, we used to live in Kansas City and I think the gates open for a 3-4 o'clock game at, 6 a.m. and people are bringing in their pull behind, barbecue, trailers and they're making barbecue all day. And, so it's truly an experience. So tailgating as it relates to us and as it relates to the temporary, event industry and things like that is, we can set up a something different than just hanging out in the in the parking lot with a tent or 10 by 10 tent or something. We're actually coming up with quite a few solutions for universities where they can have, entry level, medium level, high end, tailgate experiences that they sponsor that they can actually have as a revenue generating,
Yeah.
ticket to an event and make it part of the day.
Now, also, what's another interesting little trend around that is some people are choosing to stay in the tailgate suite or area rather than go into the stadium.
Right.
And so, really, it extends the stadium's capability to entertain spectators because they can be both inside and right outside the stadium and still get the energy around it.
Yeah, it's a perfect point, right? So sometimes folks will maybe just show up to the tailgate, right? You've got this one, we can make a wonderful venue with all the TVs in the world, great sound, great service, great food. And it's kind of like, well, being inside the stadium, there's nothing that can replace that. But maybe for some folks, it might just be easier to hang out in a nice semi-permanent building where I've got people serving me food and drinks all day. I've got the game on, and I've got several other screens showing several other games. And especially on the pro level, maybe I'm also maybe I have an important fantasy football match that day, and I want to watch all the games at once instead of just the game I'm at. So yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely it's a pivot and a change, I think, a bit that you're not seeing people just show up before the game, go in, and then go home. There's some folks that are, wanting to show up at these nice venues and hanging out for the duration of the game.
The way you're describing it also makes me think of the way people's experiences in anything are changing. And that is, rather than I went to the University of Nebraska, and if I was in the stadium, if I wasn't cheerleading or something, I was sitting in a seat with two people next to me, one on either side, and I was
Right.
watching the game for the whole thing. Okay, now being able to be in a tailgate suite or experience that InProduction's providing, it allows me to interact with others, to look up at the
Mhm.
at the game, and to really be part of the game, but not to be sealed into a seat. It's sort of like when you go to a wedding and you look at who you're seated next to, and you're like, "Oops," you
Right.
know. So it's that kind of thing where the 2 hours of dinner during the wedding, it's you can't wait to get up and sort of start mingling. It allows you to
Right.
mingle during the experience, so that's great. But you say football, I say Taylor Swift concert, of course.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Well
Well,
said.
it's interesting because 2 months ago, when Taylor Swift was in Germany, um, she had 30,000 people tailgating outside of her event in Germany, and they could hear the music,
Unbelievable.
but they couldn't see anything. And there were 30,000 people there. And not only was she not worried about the fact that they hadn't paid for a ticket, in addition to that, she had, her team actually gave water. It was very hot, gave water, etc. So the experience of that stadium expanded 30,000 additional people right outside
Wow.
of it. This is not unique to just football. So do you see yourself as providing possible tailgating suites, etc., to other venues outside of your precious football that you're going to be watching every weekend for the next
I,
22 weeks?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I guess if you boil it down, it goes back to the whole deal thesis of our post-COVID world, where I think one of the things that we all realized during COVID is we have an innate need to be around people and have shared
Right,
experiences.
right.
And I think about our business, right? Post 2020, our business has not slowed down, and several of my peers and competitors all say the same thing. It's people want to get out, they want to have a shared experience, they want to be at live events around other people experiencing things, right? Now, that could be because we just want to be around people. It could be the whole fear of missing out. It could be the whole social media culture of, I want to make sure that people see pictures of me at the event, at the tailgate, at whatever. But I think at the end of the day, you've got, shared experiences are so important. So think about those folks sitting on the side of the mountain listening to Taylor Swift. They're doing that together. It's with, mothers and daughters and, families and friends, and they're all together experiencing this together. So I think football, concerts, whatever, I don't think this is going away. And I think about a lot of the spaces that we're building that we're adding on to different venues, right? We've got several college baseball stadiums where we've gone in and built um, party deck kind of suites where you have your own space, and you can almost like have an in-game tailgate while watching the game, right? So again, it's not about, to your point, having, sitting next to the person on your left and the person on your right for a 3 or 4 hour game. You're in your space, you're mingling, you're experiencing the game in a different way. And I just don't see that slowing down. I think it's just a matter of now. It's like, well, what level of that do you want to participate in as either a client, a university or an attendee, right? So there's plenty of folks out there who will go and set up 10 by 10 tents and set up, coolers and tables, and then you can kind of buy into one of those for a game. There's plenty of folks who, as a part of your ticket, you can buy a hospitality event, before, during, or after the game. I think a lot of what we're seeing, a lot of the calls that we're getting, that there's interest in us building nicer semi-permanent structures where folks can come in full kitchens, full bars, full experience. Can be very high end, nice finishes, and that kind of caters more towards that more affluent alumni or the higher end ticket buyer who wants to have a nicer experience and they want to maybe be around their friends or just kind of have a different experience during the game as opposed to bringing my own grill and making my own food in the parking lot and having my own cooler and everybody's having a potluck
I
basically.
guess the charcoal briquettes might not be showing up quite as much. But now also, as I was doing research for this conversation, I had to laugh and I did send you this information about where tailgating actually began. And do you want to share that, Jason, or would you like me
I,
to
I I
start?
still need to fact check it because it sounds so
Okay.
weird. So
Well,
I'm going to let you share it.
after you said that, when we talked about it, I did fact check it. You can Google it, you can do whatever. It's absolutely true. Tailgating began during the Civil War when people brought picnics to watch battles. Okay. Now
That's
I'm
just
gonna
crazy.
just it is crazy. All right, I'm gonna quote here. Men, women, and even children came to witness the predicted Union victory, bringing along picnic baskets and opera glasses. Bull Run soon became known as the Picnic Battle. Among the civilian ranks were some of the Congress's most powerful senators, many of whom had called for just such a campaign, and that was at Bull Run. So
That's unbelievable.
I
Unbelievable.
I just want to say you may think this is a product of the recent past, but it goes way back
Way
to the
back.
Civil War. And the reason they called it tailgating was because in the original football games, it sort of went away after the Civil War, and then it came back in the 20s because when people would bring to the football games, they had all those bleachers, and InProduction still has bleachers, I might
Yes, we
point
do.
out,
Yes,
but
we do.
want them, we've got them. Okay, they would drive up in a cart and they would pull the tailgate of the cart down. And that's when all the football equipment would come up and out. But people would gather there because they wanted to touch all the football players as they were
Mm.
going to get their equipment, etc. So there's a little history for you as we end
Uh,
this conversation around
I
tailgating.
always learn something when we talk, Christine.
I know you do. I know. I try to bring a little other point of view.
I love it.
Yeah, so thanks again for taking a few minutes to talk with us. It's very exciting, and I think our listeners and our viewers on YouTube will be thinking about how can I apply this concept to the events that I'm creating? How can the event be bigger than the actual ticket numbers I have to sell?
I think that's well said. We've got to expand revenue, expand capacity, and just improve the overall experience for the fans. And we can certainly do all of those.
All right, we'll talk to you in a couple months. Can't wait to hear the next trend.
All right. Thanks, Christine.